there's one room you need to lose your mind about for Colorado, it's definitely the wide receiver room. We're going to dive into them and the offensive line because the offensive line is going to be the most critical in order to leverage these weapons at wide receiver. And Coach Prime did some magic. We're going to talk about that, so make sure you stick around and you can hear about it here on the Prime Time for College Football. Thank y'all for pulling up. Let's talk wide receiver room, man. If there's anything I can tell you, and I've dropped a video about this a while ago, Colorado probably has the best wide receiver room in the country. They easily have a top 5 one. I saw that PFF put them out at like top, was that 9? I think they're number 9 in the country. Is what PFF gave them. Nah, it's top 5. The numbers themselves tell you the returning production for this team is going to be, including your transfers, 3,800 yards, 30 touchdowns. And so in that situation, Shedeur has an opportunity to go out there, 35, 4,000 yards, especially in the Big 12, because the Big 12 is infamous for, letting quarterbacks do their thing. Some of the best quarterbacks have played in the Big 12 under some of these coaches. So I anticipated Pat Shermer's going to have Shedeur lighting up the conference. So let's take a look at some of these players that have come in, especially the 2 transfers, who's going to really help, I guess you could say, shore up and add experience to the room. But the young pups, don't sleep on them. They're going to be a problem too. So, of course, the good thing for the Buffs is they've got the athlete of athletes in college football, the guy that's ranked in just about everybody's top 100 within the top 3, Travis Hunter. He's leading the way, both sides of the ball, and he's going to definitely ball out. So we don't really have much to say on him. Last season, 57 catches for 721 yards, 5 touchdowns, even though he missed a couple of games. We know that Travis is going to be a monster this coming season, and he's going to be the focal point on the offensive side of the ball. But the good thing is, Coach Prime and them went out there, picked themselves up some veteran presence, right? Will Sheppard as well as LeJontay Wester. Those are 2 huge pickups to add to a room that's already elite. When I look at the depth chart, pull up these numbers. Let's look at these numbers here. This is the returning production right here. Mentioned this earlier, 3,816 yards returning, 30 touchdowns. And the big thing is LeJontay Wester, who is a senior coming in, 108 catches, 1,168 yards, 8 touchdowns from FAU. And the crazy part about him at FAU is the team threw for 2,500 yards passing. He accounted for 1,100 of them, right? Well, roughly, 40% of the offense went through him in some capacity. 108 catches was second in the country. And then Will Sheppard, who was the top wide receiver for Vanderbilt 2 years in a row in catches as well as yards. Last season was a little bit less than the year before, 47 catches, 648 and 84 yards, 8 touchdowns. Year before he had like 60-something catches. So, he had 60 catches for 776 yards. And so a little bit less, 9 touchdowns, a little bit less next season, but he was the focal point, and he still put up the production. Then you add them with a Jimmy Horn, and like I said, Travis Hunter, young Amarion Williams, who we know is going to get in the mix because he showed out last season, 11 catches, 234. When he got the chance, he showed himself, and we know that's going to mean a lot going forward in the season because with 4 wide receivers as good as they are, teams are going to try to key in on them. I'm going to be like, all right, how do we go out there and cause problems for these guys? And then one player that's been jumping out, young guy, he may actually find his way into some rotations. Was that Dron Miller, the 6'1" wide receiver out of Texas? Yeah. I've been reading some of the reports from the insiders, and they've been talking about he's one of those players that has been jumping out over fall camp. So, hey man, adding him with the rest of the wide receiver room, there's nothing but talent oozing out of there. Nothing but weapons for Shedeur when it comes to the season. I'm telling y'all, I said it in my preview with him, 4,000-yard season is incoming. It feels like he has that opportunity. Barring injury, top 5 quarterback in the country. With this wide receiver room, which I still consider top 5 in the country, really, really good. Bringing back some of the most production in college football. Like I even looked at like Ohio State, Oregon. Oregon's bringing back, 2,900 yards. Missouri, who has Luther Burden, who's considered the best wide receiver, 2,800 yards. Right? So there's a lot of schools that bring a bunch of yards, but ain't a lot of them bringing in the yards that Colorado is. 3,800 yards, guys that know how to get open, guys that know how to be the main dude. Two dudes, especially with Will Shepherd as well as LeJohntay Wester being former number one wide receivers. That's going to change the game for what Colorado's going to do. So I'm sensing that in the Pat Shermer system, he's going to find a way. I'm probably run a lot of 4 wides, a lot of 5 wides, just finding a way to let Shedeur get those guys the ball in space or even deep. We'll dive into the offensive line in just a moment to talk about what they need to do. But, hey, shout out to Coach Prime and the staff, man. They did what they needed to do to make sure that Shedeur is set up right for the final year here in Colorado. But I want to hear from y'all. Hop in the comments. Let me know what y'all think about this wide receiver room, right? Just looking at the numbers just had your boy like, wow. Could not believe this is how much talent is coming through and who's got the opportunity to play. So look at that. Now I need to dive into this offensive line because bringing in 9 new offensive linemen and then a top recruit got your boy a little nervous, but I think things are going to be fine in Colorado. First and foremost, it's kind of wild. Colorado added another player not too long ago, former LSU Tiger Cardell Thompson. He enrolled. He's there. He played at Florida A&M last year. He's been dealing with injuries. He's a former 4- and 5-star, number 4 offensive guard, is depending on the service. And at 6'3", 310, he's one of those players that, hey, man, there's a good chance he's going to be able to really help contribute because the Buffs have a whole new line. So Coach Phil Loadholt got his work built out for him, right? And I'm a big Loadholt fan. He played at Oklahoma, one of the teams I really like. He also played for the Minnesota Vikings, buddy of mine's favorite team, so I've watched a lot of Minnesota. And Loadholt's one of those dudes, man. He learned under one of the best at Bill Beatonbow at Oklahoma, and he's here to implement all of that stuff that he has learned over the last couple of years as an analyst. He was at Ole Miss with Lane Kiffin and them for a little bit as well. So we all know that the expectation here for this line is that they're going to protect. And so with some of these transfers, man, look, Colorado did some work. So like I said, Colorado brought in 9 dudes, right? I mean, from places like Texas, from Houston, right? See some guys from Indiana, UConn, right? Colorado is building something. UTEP. They're trying to build something special, and a lot of dudes that have an opportunity to play literally right now. So I've been digging a lot in here on this offensive line. Look, there's a lot of confidence in what Colorado's going to be able to do. So right now, of course, Jordan Seaton is the crown jewel of the offensive line. The freshman should be out there at the left tackle. He's listening to his interviews is funny. Him talking about how coming to Colorado was kind of a weird thing for him. He wasn't sure what to expect. And now supposedly he's showing out in camp and he's looking like a leader. Him as well as Khalil Benson, the big tackle that came in from Indiana, and reading one of the articles that he was talking about in his interview, he was talking about how, he picked Colorado. He was watching how Shedeur was getting kind of abused last season and was like, I can do better than that. I can do that and make sure that my quarterback's protected. And so he went out there and now he's going to be taking over probably one of the guard or tackle spots. Right now, our lads has him listed as predicted to be the right tackle. I don't know. But I know at right guard, Justin Mayers over there from UTEP, I anticipate him definitely being on the line. And I think Adam over there at 247 at Buff Stampede, he's kind of pointed that out as well. I've even seen some of you all in the comment section pointing out who's going to be playing where. But the offensive line is going to be interesting just to kind of see how everything is constructed and how Loadholt puts it together. You bring back players like Tyler Brown as well as Hank Zelinskas, right? You've got some veterans coming back, but then bringing in like a Peyton Kirkland from Texas. I think he needs to probably lose some weight, get into a really good shape. That was kind of one of the things with him at Texas. They talked about he was kind of a bigger guy. Overall, the Buffs did a really good job of shoring up this offensive line and building something to help eliminate the fact that Shedeur took 56 sacks last season. And we know that he's got to get rid of the ball a little bit faster too. But, oh man, and the beauty of it is too, is when I went through all of this and looking at the size of this line, right? You've actually got dudes that have got size to them. So they're sizey and they'll be nimble, right? You got guys pushing in the 300 pounds on a regular basis, especially around your starters like a Khalil Benson. He's 305. Justin Mayers is at 320. Tyler Johnson, 325. Like I said, Peyton Kirkland's around 350, so he needs to tighten that up a little bit, and he will. Tyler Brown, 310. Right? So you've got a lot of dudes getting in that nice size 300-pound offensive line and some with the nimbleness, right? Jordan Seaton is at he's listed at 285 right now. He'll probably be in the 300 range at tackle by the time, mid to late season. They're beefing up this line to make sure that they're ready to handle the grind of the Big 12. Big 12's got a lot of nice pass rushers, and so as long as you're able to stuff them, you're good. It's not like the SEC where you got a whole bunch of big 300-pounders, but you got some nimble 285s and 290s that you've got to keep your eyes on and protect. And I think that this line with Lode Holt running things is going to be a hell of a lot better than it was last year, right? So we'll get the depth chart and stuff. Coach Prime mentioned at the fall at the actual practice, the live one where everyone was invited in Denver, he made mention that he probably won't have his depth chart ready until like game day, which I get. It's going to be tough to kind of really figure that out. He talked about injuries and make sure everybody's healthy and what works best against the team that they're playing against. So I'm sensing the actual depth chart will really be ready for the Nebraska game, right? That's going to be the one because, truth be told, Colorado's got a tough non-conference setup that's, not going to be like most where you have really cupcakes. I mean, North Dakota State's no slouch, but the Buffs should be able to beat them. Nebraska's a riser, but I think the Buffs should beat them. Colorado State is a rival, so they hate each other. Anything can happen, but the Buffs should beat them. So it's not something to be trifled with. Well, at the same time, I do think that, this offensive line gelling over those first three games are going to be critical to what happens once you get into Big 12 play. The gelling has to happen. 9 conference games, this line's got to be prepared. And I think Phil Lodeholt to be able to do it. Even though it's his first job, I think he'll be ready. Let me know what y'all think. Hop in the comments. Let us know what you thought about the offensive line, the wide receiver room, how y'all feeling about all of that. We didn't really touch on tight ends. I did some digging on it, and I don't know how much tight ends is going to be leveraged, but we'll put something together to talk about tight ends a little bit later. All right. Again, we're going to check out the series or whatnot. We've got that series on this side right here. And you can go ahead and subscribe to the channel. We'll drop more content, more news. We'll get some fall notes from camp. And, we'll talk about what's out there. You have a good one.